first came to Union, I was nervous that it was going to be too Christian. I was afraid that I wouldn't like the flavor of the worship, that Bible classes would leave a bad taste in my mouth. I was completely wrong. I quickly came to love this community and the strains of Christianity that I encountered here. I discovered the saltiness of Christian practice and theology, and I began to find my own tradition a little bland. With our wordy euphemisms for God, our generally uninspired singing, our vague set of principles, I thought that Unitarian Universalism could use a little salt. This fall, I began my field education internship at the Community Unitarian Church of White Plains, or CUC. I thought it would give me some much-needed experience working in a UU congregation, and I also thought it would help me in discerning my spiritual and vocational paths. Well, this time I was right. I began falling in love with CUC and back in love with my tradition when I first met the volunteer youth advisors who would fill out my teaching team. For example, there's Hope, an exuberant single mother of 2 boys and a practicing Jew who was fasting for Yom Kippur during our first team meeting. Or there's Pam, a free-spirited professional astrologist whose activities include giving tarot card readings at fancy dinner parties. Now, these women and the other people I work with on committees or in teaching, they can drive me crazy, but they also delight me. They're spicy and distinct, and they make church taste better. The youth group is also a flavorful bunch. Many of them report Harry Potter as their primary source of spiritual wisdom, and others focus on obscure rock bands. They are swimmers, writers, actors, violists, and I can even count the fastest high school race walker in the country as a member of my youth group. But being with the youth doesn't just keep me in touch with young people and their drama and diversity. During one discussion in November, I asked the youth what resources our faith offers in dealing with times of grief and struggle. The conclusion they came to is that we need to be there for each other. We do not have a theology that we all agree on to fall back on, but we have community. I've learned lessons like these over and over at my field site, not just with the youth, but also in theological reflection, which I share with my supervisor, Laura, who is the director of religious education, the intern minister, Susan, and the senior minister, Rev. Carol. All 3 of these women are at different places in their ministerial journeys. They bring different experiences, gifts, and convictions. For example, Susan is a humanist with definite reservations about Christianity. And while we sometimes clash theologically, we connect when we talk about literature or dance. In these reflections, I have discovered that the principles I found so flavorless actually contain complex and contrasting essences and offer a more nuanced theology than I had imagined. Now, I don't know what Jesus was talking about when he said that those listening to his Sermon on the Mount were the salt of the world. But I know that the more I learn about him and those who follow him today, the more I want to learn about this salt. I am still loving the flavors of Christian spirituality, but I'm no longer finding my own tradition to be so bland. Unitarian Universalism probably could use some salt, and maybe I can bring some when and if I become a UU minister. But I also needed a good place to refine my taste buds in order to appreciate the complex flavors already present in my movement. My field education experience has offered me just such a place, and for that, I am very grateful.